Have you ever made a mistake, a small decision, that had bigger consequences than you ever imagined? Sometimes the smallest choices can lead to the most unexpected outcomes, changing our lives in ways we never thought possible. Today on Bible Adventure Quest, we'll hear the story of a man, a flock of sheep, and how one careless lie cost him everything. This tale will take us on a journey through ancient times, showing us the ripple effects of our actions. Most importantly, we'll learn what the Bible says about living with honesty and integrity before God and others. Through this story, we'll discover the importance of truth and the impact it has on our relationships and our faith. In a quiet village nestled between green hills where the air was fresh and the mornings were filled with the songs of birds, there lived a man named Elias. The village was also blessed with a wide, sparkling river that flowed gently, providing water and a sense of tranquility to the villagers. Elias, a humble man, called this place home. Elias wasn't wealthy. He didn't own much, but he had something very important, a job that people trusted him to do. He was a shepherd, hired to guard the village sheep from danger. Each morning, Elias would climb the steep hills, settle near a tall oak tree, and watch the sheep graze peacefully. The sheep were his responsibility, and he took his job seriously. The villagers depended on him to keep the flock safe from wolves and other dangers. At first, Elias was proud of his work. He knew the village depended on him. He felt a sense of pride and purpose as he watched over the sheep, knowing that his vigilance allowed the villagers to go about their daily lives without worry. But over time, the long days grew boring. The sun beat down on his face, the sheep rarely moved. Nothing exciting ever happened. The monotony of his daily routine began to wear on him, and in his boredom, Elias's mind wandered toward trouble. He began to feel restless and yearned for something, anything to break the tedium of his days. One afternoon, as the warm breeze rustled the grass, Elias had an idea. A mischievous thought crossed his mind, and he couldn't shake it off. What if I pretend there's danger? What if I call for help, just to see what happens? The idea seemed harmless enough, just a little joke to break the monotony. Without thinking, he leapt to his feet, waved his arms, and shouted down toward the village, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the flock!" His voice echoed through the hills. The villagers heard the cries. Men grabbed sticks. They were ready to defend their sheep, their livelihood, from the supposed threat. Women rushed out of their homes. Children ran alongside them. The entire village was in a state of alarm, united in their effort to protect the flock. They all sprinted up the hill, only to find Elias laughing heartily by the oak tree. The sight of their frantic faces made him laugh even harder. "No wolf. Just wanted to see if you cared." The sheep munched quietly. The villagers were confused and a bit annoyed, but they returned to their homes, relieved that there was no real danger. The clouds drifted lazily overhead. The day returned to its usual calm, but Elias's mind was still restless. Boredom gnawed at him worse than hunger. The thrill of the prank had given him a brief respite from the monotony, but it wasn't enough. Why not, he thought. It's just a harmless joke. The idea of repeating the prank seemed more and more appealing. He cupped his hands and shouted louder than before. "Wolf! Wolf! Please help me!" This time his voice carried even further, reaching every corner of the village. Again the village sprang into action. The alarm had been raised, and the villagers, with hearts pounding and adrenaline surging, dropped whatever they were doing. They grabbed their tools, their makeshift weapons, and hurried towards the source of the commotion. Again, they climbed the tiring hill. Their legs ached from the steep ascent, but they pushed on, driven by the fear of a wolf threatening their livestock. The path was familiar now, worn by their repeated dashes to Elias's cries, and again they found no wolf. The fields were empty, the sheep grazing peacefully, oblivious to the chaos. The villagers exchanged puzzled glances, their breaths heavy, their patience wearing thin. Only Elias laughing until tears rolled down his cheeks. His laughter echoed through the hills, a stark contrast to the villagers' frustration. To him it was all a game, a way to break the monotony of daily life. This time the villagers were angry, their faces flushed with irritation, their patience finally snapped. They had been fooled too many times, and their trust in Elias was eroding. One man pointed a stern finger and said, "If you cry wolf again, Elias, we may not come next time." But Elias just shrugged. He didn't understand the gravity of his actions, the danger he was courting. After all, it was just a joke, wasn't it? Days passed. Elias continued to play his pranks, each time growing bolder, more confident in his deceit. He reveled in the attention, the power he felt over the villagers. Elias grew even more comfortable in his deceit. He believed he could control the narrative that the villagers would always come running. His smugness was palpable, a dangerous overconfidence. But one evening, as the sun dipped low and the hills turned gold, a shadow moved at the edge of the field. The air grew still, the usual sounds of the countryside hushed as if in anticipation. Yellow eyes gleamed in the twilight. They were predatory, calculating, and filled with hunger. The real danger had finally arrived. A real wolf, hungry, fierce, and fast, slipped through the tall grass toward the sheep. Its movements were silent, its intent clear. The sheep, sensing the predator, began to bleat in fear. Elias's heart raced in panic. This was no longer a game. The reality of the situation hit him like a cold wave, and fear gripped his heart. He stumbled backward and shouted with all his strength, "Wolf! Wolf! A real wolf! Please, someone help me!" His voice cracked with desperation, his earlier confidence shattered. He screamed until his throat burned. He waved his arms. His eyes darted around, hoping to see the familiar figures of the villagers rushing to his aid. He cried out desperately toward the village below. His voice echoed in the empty air, a stark reminder of his earlier deceit, but this time no one came. The village remained silent, the streets empty. The villagers, tired of his lies, had chosen not to believe him, and now Elias was truly alone, facing the consequences of his actions. Down in the village, people heard his voice, but they shook their heads. "Another one of Elias's tricks," they said. "No need to waste our time." And so, alone on the hill, Elias watched helplessly as the wolf tore through the flock. The sheep scattered in fear, some injured, some lost forever. Thank you for joining me today on Bible Adventure Quest. Remember, truth builds bridges, lies burn them. Until next time, stay faithful and keep seeking God's adventure for your life.